looked into that. They're looking for somebody who can play on the left wing, somebody right-footed preferably in that position. They've already signed Jamie Gittins as well this summer, but obviously they're without Mudryk for the time being. Jadon Sancho has left as well. So it's a position they are looking to strengthen. I think there's a good chance that he will end up being a Chelsea player because he himself wants to move to Stamford Bridge. I just think it's about thrashing out a deal and also Chelsea selling even more players because they've already raised about £200 million this summer. But as you said, they've got 8 or 9 players they want to move on. And the more players leave, the more likely it is that Chelsea will be able to bring more players in as well.
Yeah, still a big squad, isn't it, in terms of what Enzo Maresca is dealing with. And like Pep Guardiola, he says he likes to work with a smaller group of players. But one player today specifically could be out the door is who at Stamford Bridge?
Is Renato Vega, the centre-back who Chelsea signed for about £12 million. Now, he wants to play as a centre-back. He hasn't really had the opportunity to do that at Chelsea. They sent him out on loan to Juventus in January. He was there for the second half of the season. I don't think Juventus are that interested in taking him back, but Villarreal want to do a deal. Chelsea value him actually at around €40 million, which is around £34 million. I would be surprised if Villarreal were able to afford to pay that much for him. But I think the player wants to leave. He wants to play in La Liga. He's somebody who's played for Portugal as well, and he wants to be back playing. And I think also he wants a permanent deal. You know, I don't think he's the kind of player who wants to be shipped out on loan every window.
And this is a player like a lot of Chelsea youngsters who's got 6 years remaining on his contract.
Yeah, I mean, when Chelsea signed him, they made sure that they gave him a really, really long contract. I know it's controversial, but the other way of looking at it is it's worked out really well for Chelsea. Somebody like Enzo Fernandez, they gave him a really, really long contract. Real Madrid have been interested in signing him. There's no way he's going to leave Stamford Bridge because he's got such a long contract. Chelsea in a strong position. Real Madrid can't afford him. Similar situation actually with Nicholas Jackson, a player who's likely to leave Chelsea in the next few weeks. I think last September he signed a contract extension. He's got something like 8 years left on his contract now, yet looks like he's on his way out of Chelsea as well. I think these long contracts just mean that Chelsea are in a stronger position when it comes to selling players, and that's one of the reasons perhaps why they've been able to raise so much money from selling players.
And also with those long contracts, Chelsea have been given a lot of flack for giving out these long contracts, but because a lot of the contracts they're handing out to younger players are long contracts, but the base salary is actually relatively low when you compare it to some of the major powerhouse clubs in Europe. And what that means is it incentivises you as a player. If you get into that first team, you're incentivised because you'll be paid much more money to play. But at the same time, if you're not playing, if you're not in the first team picture, then you can earn much more money elsewhere, which is why it gives you a situation whereby Chelsea may be able to offload players that are on long contracts because they can get better money elsewhere. You're not in a similar situation to a player, say, Jadon Sancho, who is on huge money at Manchester United, and they're struggling to find suitors for him. Well, Chelsea could have signed him in the summer, but they couldn't agree on a wage for him. Whereas with Manchester United, they had players who are on very high salaries. It's quite difficult to offload them. With Chelsea, yes, they've got 6 years left in their contract. They could sit there for 6 years, but that would do nothing for their football development. And in terms of their bank balance, they could earn more elsewhere.
Yeah, you mentioned Vega and you mentioned, of course, Jackson, potential exits at Stamford Bridge. You should never look at Solicol's list, James. It's a very private place, but I'm looking there and he's got a list as long as his arm in terms of other names who could be out the door.
Well, look, 15 players have already left Chelsea this summer.
That's astonishing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think another 9 players could leave. The biggest earner, I think, is Raheem Sterling. He's, I think, one of the biggest earners at the club. I think he was the first player Chelsea signed when Todd Boehly was the sort of acting sporting director after the takeover. Obviously, he was out on loan at Arsenal. I think it's very, very likely that he's going to move out of the club over the next few days, maybe on loan. The other really interesting one is Christopher Nkunku, because I thought he played really well for Chelsea in the Club World Cup this summer. He's back fit. He looks really, really sharp. I think he wants to go to Bayern Munich. He's got a very, very good agent, a super agent, I think we should call him, Pinny Zahavi. and Mr. Xavi is trying to sort out a deal between Chelsea and Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich at the moment being quite clever, trying to go for a loan deal, but I think Chelsea and the player would prefer a permanent move, and Chelsea are asking for around 50 million euros.
And look, we mentioned Mark Gahey earlier, just because obviously over the years he has been linked with a return to Stamford Bridge, and Enzo Maresca in the last 10 days or so has been talking about the need to get another centre-back in. So, I mean, you know, are they happy with what they've got to go September 1st, Chelsea centre-back-wise?
Updates also regarding Chelsea, guys. We know that Xavi Simons and Garnacho are waiting for a green light to become new Chelsea players, are waiting for the outgoings for them to join Chelsea, Garnacho and Xavi Simons. Well, guys, my information is that after a direct meeting face-to-face took place between Borussia Dortmund and Chelsea on Friday, the agreement for Carney Chukwuemeka and Aaron Anselmino to leave Chelsea and go to Borussia Dortmund is very close, it's almost done. From what I'm hearing, just some final small details, and then Carney Chukwuemeka and Aaron Anselmino will go to Borussia Dortmund. Anselmino straight loan, no buy option. Carney Chukwuemeka permanent transfer for more than 20 million euros, heavy sell-on clause, and so waiting to fix the details. And then here we go is coming for Aaron Anselmino and Carney Chukwuemeka to leave Chelsea and go to Borussia Dortmund. For Anselmino, it's important to say that no buy option included, and so he will be a Chelsea player, obviously, in the future. For Chelsea, another exclusive bit for you tonight. I'm told that Aston Villa, after calling for Nicolas Jackson, Aston Villa want Jackson, but they believe that the deal is not easy because there are many clubs in the mix for Jackson. Newcastle, Bayern, several clubs calling. So Aston Villa, after calling for Jackson, also called in the last 24 hours for Christopher Nkunku. Nkunku remains one of the big names on the market. Jackson and Nkunku ready to leave Chelsea in this final week. Interest, we know, from Bayern, but they wanted a loan. Chelsea want permanent. Interest from Leipzig, but similar situation, loan, permanent. And so now also Aston Villa showing an interest in Christopher Nkunku. So Aston Villa first called for Nicolas Jackson, now also called for Nkunku, and don't forget also Marco Asensio in their short list. So these are all names in the list of Aston Villa waiting to see what's going to happen in terms of decision and what they can get on the market in this final week. But obviously this is going to be a very important topic for Chelsea in order to get the green light and bring in Xavi Simons as soon as possible to the club, because Xavi is patiently waiting, Alejandro Garnacho is patiently waiting. So all of them are waiting to have a green light and to go to Chelsea, but the outgoings remain.